Rhubarb Crumble. I have just gone to my yard and picked rhubarb, and I can talk to you a bit more about that. It's a little early. I'm kind of pushing the season, so I added just one apple to round out my fruit here. So what you want to start with is a non-reactive pie pan, which means stainless steel or Pyrex or ceramic, but in other words, not aluminum, because rhubarb is acidic and it and the pie pan won't like each other if you're using a stainless steel pan. And you take 5 to 6 cups of rhubarb, in this case rhubarb mixed with apple, and pop it in there. And that's pretty easy. And you sprinkle just a little bit of sugar, white sugar on top. This is a 1/4 cup of sugar. Just to, rhubarb is a little tart, but I love it. Ta-da. Now, I have here white flour, or it could be whole wheat flour, and oats. The original recipe, which is really more of a crumble, this is a little bit of a half crisp, just had white flour, but I really like the way the nuttiness and the texture of the oats, and also frankly they give it a little bit of whole grain, which doesn't hurt. So we mix those up and we put in a half stick, whoops, hello, of cold butter. You could use a pastry blender to mix this. I just happen to be using my fingers. Now this is a very flexible recipe. So if you decided that your crumble wanted to have, say, a little cinnamon or a little ginger, you could or both, you could certainly put them in. I really love just the flavor of rhubarb. It's tart, but it sweetens up beautifully with all the stuff. So what we're trying to do here is what you would do with any kind of pastry blender type thing. Just make the butter into small pieces. It doesn't have to completely be absorbed. And by the way, I have preheated my oven to 400 degrees. Then this is a half cup of brown sugar, just to give it that nice caramelization flavor. So this is obviously our topping. What I love about a crumble is, A, it's easy. B, it's quick. I mean, this isn't going to take any time at all. The chopping took maybe 5 minutes. Yes, I had to pick the rhubarb, but this is the kind of dessert that if you hear that people are coming to dinner that evening at, say, 4:30 or 5 or even 6, you can throw it together. I usually have most of the ingredients in the house, although I may have to find the fruit. So we just sprinkle that over the top. It's lighter than a crisp. It's a whole lot easier than a pie, and people love it. Now, if you had even less rhubarb than I did, I had almost enough. You're supposed to have 5 to 6 cups, and I had about 4.5 cups of rhubarb, and there will be more later in the season. There. So what we're going to do is pop that in the oven and cook it. It's about half an hour. You're going to want it to be a little brown on the top, kind of bubbly, and I will come back when I take it out of the oven. See? So I've just taken my crumble out of the oven. It cooked for about half an hour. What you want it to be is lightly browned on the top, and you can't see this now, but you could see it in the oven, a little bubbly on the edges. And how long it takes, to tell you the truth, will depend on the wetness of your rhubarb, but a half an hour is a good guideline. So while it's cooling a little, I'm going to talk to you about how to pick rhubarb if you're fortunate enough to have a patch or have a rhubarb with a patch. Not a rhubarb with a patch, a neighbor with a patch. So basically, here's what you do. You go out to your rhubarb patch and you take with you a knife and a bag. When you get to the patch, you don't cut the rhubarb. You pull it as close to horizontally as you can. That way it grows back best. If you cut it, it doesn't regenerate new stalks. Then you take your knife and you lop off the leaf, and you leave the leaf out in the yard to serve as compost or whatever, mulch for your rhubarb patch, because the part of rhubarb that you must never eat is the leaf. Not that you would want to necessarily, but that's actually poisonous. So, apparently some soldiers died in World War I when they were served rhubarb leaves instead of spinach. Anyway, they look different. So we have this delightful dessert, and I would say it kind of depends on how many. I've known people for whom this will serve 3 or 4. I think it serves 6 at least, but it depends on how large the portions are. And you can definitely serve it with whipped cream or creme fraiche, or of course, my favorite from college. We had these big tubs of ice cream, and my brother said that boys eat a lot of the main course, but he'd never seen girls who ate ice cream like the girls at Mount Holyoke. So anyway, put a little ice cream on top and think of college. That's it. Bye.